You actually need to pay attention to details in this video. If you are new to tennis prediction, or probably maybe you need consistency in winning on tennis games. Alright, in this edition, I'm going to explain to you guys how to use this 4-step model of total point in lawn tennis prediction games. Alright, this particular sport that you guys are seeing happens to be one of the most straightforward sports that you can actually look into, because of what? There is a way you can calculate the figures in this sport that you will get a certain numbers of points. There is a way that whenever this game starts, at the start of the game, you already know whether you are winning or you are losing your games, because it deals with certain numbers, and most times these numbers are fixed. Most especially when we are talking about the set, the total numbers of points that you can have in a set, they are limited compared to that of football, basketball. In football, in first half, if you like, you can beat your opponent 30-0, 40-0. In tennis, the moment you clocked 7 points, then that is the end of the set. Alright, so that is one of the reasons why I said that tennis happens to be one of the most easiest sport to predict, and at the same time it is highly technical. Alright, so in this edition I'm going to review to you guys the 4 steps that you can actually utilize to improve or increase your probabilities of winning. Right, so without wasting much of our time, if you look into these particular tennis games, most times we always have 2 sets in tennis, and if the game eventually ended up in a tie, then the match usually extend into third set. And sometimes the kind of points that you'll be getting in tennis, that is the total points, because now you guys are seeing 0-2, you'll be seeing 2-1, 2-0. That is the outcome of the game. 0-2, 2-1, that is the outcome. But there are some points that occurred within each set. So this happens to be the set. So let's assume that this guy won the first set, as he played 6-1 here, and lost the second set. Then the match would have extended into third set. Now, the market options that you want to observe in this edition is the total games. The total game that we are talking about is not this outcome, the full-time outcome. We are talking about the total game, the total point that occurred within each set. For example, in first set, we have the match ending up as 1-6, and in second set we have the match ended up as 6-4. Now, if you combine the total points that we have in the first set and in the second set, you are going to see that that is 17 total points. So these points that you guys are saying is what we actually it is what we will be examining in this edition. Now, the common point that you'll be seeing in tennis will be around maybe 14 points, 15 points, 16 points, 17 points, and many more like that. So the normal line that the bookmaker should be providing should be around 20 points. That is the common lowest odd line that you'll be seeing in tennis market of over total games. Any bookmaker that you'll be seeing, they will be using the lowest odd line of 20. So it will be very rare for you to see a bookmaker that will use the lowest odd line of 19, because of what? In the first set, as I said earlier, that the moment you scored 7 points, or let me say 6 points, the highest is 7 points. And the reason why I said 7 points is because let's assume that in the first set, this first set that ended up as 1-6, let's assume that they played the game up to like 6-6. So that is 6-6. 6 5, we cannot have 6-5. So the moment you have 5-5, already know that that game will eventually end up as maybe 7-6. So let me show you guys example of what I'm talking about. In a game that we have that ended up as 1-2, don't forget I told you guys that the normal set of a tennis match is 2 sets, but when they experienced maybe a draw, maybe player 1 lost first set and won second set, then we need a winner, then we are proceeding to the third set. But there are some tournaments that instead of 2 sets, they are naturally 3 sets. Are you getting it? Naturally 3 sets. So in that kind of a game, you must win 3 sets, all the 3 sets. So that is when you can be having games ending up as 3-2 sometimes. There are some special tournaments like that. So now in the situation whereby we have 1-2, there is something that you can check here. If you look at it here, we have, okay, yes, this one is just a normal draw. This one is 6-2. The home team won in the first set, the away team won in the third set, and the match extended into the third. The away team won in the second set, and the match extended into the third set to determine the final winner. So I'm looking for a game that actually ended up as maybe 7 points in the first set. You see something like this. Look at the third set here. You can see 7 raised to power 11 and 6 raised to power 9. That is when a straight draw, maybe a draw occurred within a single set. I think that it is called deuce. Yes, deuce in a single set. So that is where you can be having a very big point. Now we are talking about how you can predict the over point in tennis game. Now, if you look at it, this kind of a game are the game that are best for predicting your over games in tennis. We are not predicting maybe over 2.5, over 1.5. No, we are predicting something like over 20.5, because that is what you'll be seeing most times. Now, we said we need games that will actually end up as over 20. So without anybody telling you that you already won, if you predict games like this as even over 21.5, because if you add 3 plus 6, that is 9, 9 plus 9, that is because we have 9 points in the second set, and that is 18. Adding that 18 with 6 that you got from the third set, and that is 24 plus 7, that is 31. That is soft winning. So when you are losing in the first set, then you already know that you are losing. When you are winning in the second set, then you already know that you are winning. So tennis happens to be a straightforward game that already you will know if you are winning or if you are losing during the game. There is no hope when your game is having issue right from the start of the game. So sometimes most of the games always end up as maybe under 18, and if you are lucky, you can have the bookmakers providing the lowest odd line around 16, 17. It happens like that. Now, without wasting much of our time, I will proceed into the first step that you need to take serious when you want to predict your tennis over point. So the first step is to target balanced matches. Yes, that is step 1. Target balanced matches. Don't go for games that you have maybe 1.30, something like this, playing against 3.40. Don't go for match whereby you have the odd as 1.22 against 4.00. You need to focus on matches where both players are close in levels. At least their power, their competence, it must be very close when it comes to their level. And what do you need to look for? So I'm going to list 3 things that you need to look into before you can decide that, okay, this particular game I'll be going for it as over total games. Number 1 is similar ranking. there's something that we call, maybe depends on the tournament. We have the ATP ranking, the WTA ranking. So that is when you be having maybe number 200 and something on the leaders board. So we have it like that. So there are some bet platforms that provide the ranking of teams that of players that want to play against each other. So example of that, if I'm going to use this bet platform to predict a game, so let me assume that I want to predict this particular game as the over total point. Although I'm still going to give you guys additional tips on how you can further analyze your tennis games beyond these 4 steps. So the extra tips is just like to add more sugar to the strategy. Now, if you look at this game, you can see the home team has 2.05 odd and the away team has 1.81 odd to win. Now, this happens to be a balanced match between the two players. Now, if we are to look at, that is the first thing that you need to look into. Make sure that the odds do not far apart. So another one is similar ranking that I said I want to show you guys, because the app I was using to analyze the game earlier, that one is a live score app that is used for checking the previous games, their forms like that. Now let's assume that you have a bet platform that provides you with information that you will need to complete your analysis. Now if I should check the head-to-head new, so this is where I'm going to check their ranking. The ranking of these two players must not be too far from each other. The ranking, if you see for example, the ATP ranking of the home team, home player, that is Luciano, that is 16, and the ranking of the away player, that is Alex, is 9. Although 9 to 16 there is a difference of 7, ranking points between them, but it is not something that we are having a ranking between number 9 and number 50. The maximum gap that should be among the two players must not exceed 20. It must not exceed 15. Depends on how you want to define your gap in their ranking. It must not exceed certain figures. All right, so that is it. Now you can see for Alex we have 9. Alex is number 9 on the ATP ranking, and Luciano is 16 on the ATP ranking. So this is very important. The another thing that you need to look into is their form, their recent form. That one is also very important. Don't go for games whereby one side is actually in good form and the other one is not in a very good form. That one is very risky. So let me check this game. Now this is where the problem is. Although there are some factors that we are able to find under the step 1 for this game to consider it as a balanced match, but unfortunately, out of the 3 factors that I told you guys to look into, number 1, I said the odds for the two players must not be too far from each other. At least you should be having 1.70 or 1.60 and above for a particular team, and maybe the other for a particular player, and maybe for the other player you're having maybe 1.9, 2.0 and above for the other player. So, and the other one that I said is that they must have similar ranking. Their ranking must be very close to each other. They must not be too far. And lastly, similar recent form. But unfortunately, the recent form of these two players, there is a big difference in it. In the last 5 games of Luciano, the guy won 4 out of his last 5 games, and for the away player, which is Alex, the guy won just 2 out of his last 5 games. Let's assume that at least he was able to win 3 I will categorize him as someone that is actually in form. Although the projection of his form is actually going up because he lost, he won his last two games, which shows that he has been regaining his form back, and lost three out of his last five games. But had it been that the way the home team had four winnings in his last five games, the the away team must also have at least three winnings out of his last five games. So this will actually account for it as a 60% of form, which is actually above average of 50% form. So let's assume that you want to be strict with this particular strategy. You will surely skip this kind of a game. But I will keep using it as an example so that we won't waste much of our time looking for games that meet up. But these factors must actually meet up with your games before you go ahead in predicting it. So why do I say that the balance matches happens to be the first step that you need to look into? Because the reason why is that if you use the balanced match, this will create longer rallies, more games, and more tie break. That is when we can experience a match that we eventually ended up as 1-2. Maybe the home team will win first set, the away player will win the second set, and they will go into the third set. And whenever they go into the third set, that is automatic winning. So far you are going for maybe over 20. Let me check the lowest odd line provided for this game. You can see the lowest odd line that we have here is over 19. Now let's assume that in the first set, don't forget I said we have two sets naturally, but when they tie, maybe the player one won the first set, player two won the second set, then they can extend to third set. Now let's assume that in the first set they played 7-4, in the second set they played 7-3. That is automatic winning. Or maybe there's no way they can play. Don't let us say 7-3. In the first set they played maybe 6-4. In the second set maybe they play 7-5, then we won. But if they played 6-3 in the first set and you predicted the game as over 19, they played 6-3 in the first set, they played 6-4 in the second set, that is exactly 19. So that is the reason why I say that lawn tennis can be a very technical and dangerous sport to look into, despite the fact that it is very simple to analyze. Now take note of that. Step 2, that one is check the surface and playing style. You need to check the surface of the game. For example, this is the start. So let me just give you some hints that you need to take note. The best surface for over, if you want to get over point very well, it is the hard court and the grass court. And when we are talking about the player style, the best player combinations, we have two players facing each other. So let us talk about the best kind of players that are facing each other that you can actually go into as over point in lawn tennis. Number 1 is strong servers versus strong servers. Number 2, defensive grinders versus defensive grinders. Don't predict your games on a match between strong server against defensive grinders. They must be positive. Strong server against strong server, defensive grinder against defensive grinders. So if you don't know how to get the information about this, technology has made everything easy for us. There is a way you can actually do it by screenshotting the fixture of this game and pasting it into the AI platform that you are using. So when you paste it on the AI platform, then you can prompt the AI as, what is the playing style of these two players? Is it strong server or defensive grinders? So there is a way you can prompt it that you will tailor it for each and individual players. So that is just the secret for the step 2. Don't forget, the best surface that you can actually play your game as is the hard court. Let me check the court for this game. Actually, it is kind of hard for me to get the kind of court they will be playing, but it won't really exceed hard court for the ATP. So maybe probably if I stake the game, maybe probably I'll be able to access the kind of court that they will be playing on. So that is that for step 2. Step 2 is checking the surface and the player style. Now moving on to step 3. But before I move on to step 3, let me advise you, there are some factors that you need to look into to avoid unnecessary outcome. You need to avoid one aggressive player against a weaker returner. Just like you can easily know this by checking the odds sometimes. That when I told you guys that the odd also matters, the odd also matters. And another thing that you need to avoid is when a clay specialist is facing a poor movers, always avoid the game also. Now let us proceed. So moving on to step 3, you need to use set projection. Don't forget, when I told you earlier that I was explaining to you guys how set usually works, that I said whenever you have coming whenever you have games, for example, look at this game, look at the odd. You can see the odd, although I usually assume 1.5 odd to be a one-sided favorite player whenever I'm saying 1.5, but let's assume that we are seeing 1.6. You can see this game ended well with the way we actually want it to end, because the more the point, the higher chance of winning. Look at first set. The game eventually ended up in a deuce and we have 7-6. Fine. Okay. Now, there is something that we called set projection. If you look at the game and you notice that there is a high probability that this game will end up as over 8.5 in the first set. The common point that we usually get in first set is actually over 8.5, but sometimes when the game is not ending well, maybe there is a side that is more favored, maybe there's a player that is more stronger than the other one, that is when you can be having 6-1. But very common, 95% of tennis games in a day always end up as over 7.5 in first set, and almost 85% of games in lawn tennis in a day always end up as 85.5 in the first set. And even in second set, most times in every set we always have games ending up as over 8.5 in each set. At least 85% of games played in tennis for a day. Now look at this particular game. In the first set we have 7-6, and that is automatic 13, and in the second set we have 6-4. Let's assume that the home team that actually won the first set won the second set. We have 13 in the first set and we have 10 in the second set. 13 plus 10, that is 23. Assuming you predicted this particular game as over 20, you've already won. But this particular game extended into the third set and they played 7-5. This shows that this game is a very tight game, and these kind of games are the games that you need to be looking for. These are the kind of games that you need to look into before predicting your over total point. Now use set projection. Check their first set, because that is the most accessible data. Maybe in case if you don't want to use the manual method of analyzing your first set projection. So before you stake your game, you can check if the match can realistically reach maybe 7-5, 7-6, 6-4, or extend to 3 sets. Most of the factors that you are seeing here, can the game you want to predict as over, can it actually achieve this? If not, I won't lie to you, that is automatic under. So lawn tennis can be very tricky sometimes, to be sincere, but I know that most common market options that we look into there is predicting sets, because that one is very common and that one is straightforward. That is that on step 3, use set projection. And now moving on to step 4, enter only when the line is reasonable. Predict your games only when the line is what? Reasonable. For example, the game we are currently looking into here, although the bookmakers are providing over 19.5, but most times you will always have over 20.5 and sometimes over 21.5. And secondly, there are some lines that you need to avoid. Always avoid over 21 and over 22. Don't go for it. Do you know the reason why? The highest, the most common, the worst, the easiest point that you can still achieve in each set of a tennis, that you can say, okay, yes, let us consider it, is for you to achieve 19. This 19 that the bookmakers are providing, exactly 19. The common result in 4 sets is always around 6-3, which is 9, or you'll be seeing 6-4. That is the common result. Let me do this for example. These are the games that they've played. I think they played this one on Wednesday. You can see a lot of game played yesterday. Now if you click on the first game that we have here, in the first set you can see the common result. This is 6-3, this is 6-0. Let's assume that the game did not extend into the third set. Then you have 6-3, which is 9, and 6-0, which is 6, that is 15. The second game, in the first set, you can see 6-3, that is 9. That is the common result you'll be getting. Look at this game again. Let me check this one. Okay, this one we have 7-6 and we have 6-2. Okay, let me check this one that ended up as 2-1. This one is 6-4 and 6-1. First set and second set. So most times you'll be getting the match for Michael Zink. This one is 7-5. Okay, this one seems to be a tight game. You can see this is a tight game. This is a tight game. So let us check. I think we checked this one earlier. You can see common result is 6-3. If you check all the games from the beginning to the end, what you will see mostly is 6-3, 6-2, 6-4, 6-3, 6-2, 6-4. That is the common result. So you need to be very careful with the kind of games that you will look into. So my advice for you guys, if you want to utilize these 4 steps, is that do not chase overs in one-sided match. Maybe a match whereby you are seeing 1.2 odd for a particular player and 5 odd for the other player. And another gist that I want to give you guys, in case if you want to add sugar to your strategy, maybe probably you want to increase more on the probability of winning your games on tennis, that is by checking the last 5 games and then getting the average total point. For example, you can decide to look into the last 10 games. For these particular players, they have not faced each other before, so you can use their recent games against other opponents. And don't forget, we discussed about checking their recent form. It must match each other. So let us say we want to look at the last 5 games, or maybe you want to look at the last 10 games, anyone, and you want to check the average point. It is very simple. You just need to calculate their points in first set and in second set. Add everything all together. This one is 6-4, that is 10. 6-2, that is 8, that is 18. then you add it with what you have in the game that this one lost. This one adds 6 4 6 4, that is 20 plus 18. So that is how you are going to do it for the last 5 games and divide it by 5. So that will be your average point. Do the same for the away team. Divide by 5, add it together, divide by 2, and we're able to divide it by 2. You go, oh, that one will give you the range of points that you should be expecting in that kind of a game. If you are seeing the total average as maybe probably 20, then the best market option that you can predict the game is maybe over 19 or over 18, but mostly over 18. So that is it. Alright, so thanks for watching. See you guys in the next edition. Don't forget to like this channel, subscribe to this channel, like this video, drop a comment in case if you have any question, and in case if you want to join our rollover challenge, which is currently on. This is Ade Ayo 1.3 odd 15 days rollover challenge. Currently we are on day 5. Actually, we have been moving slow because we do not really have enough fixtures and games that actually aligned with our analysis, so we are moving slowly but consistently. All right, so thanks for watching. See you guys in the next edition. Bye bye.